episode 7? 6?
15?
7 or 6? Actually, in reality, this is episode 6. However, this is going to come out after our October episode. We sat down today to record, and we had already planned for this one. However, with our release schedule, our Halloween episode is going to come out in October. This episode would come out around Halloween, so we want to do a spooky episode for that. So we're going to record that next month and put that in place of this one. So this is technically our 6th recording, but this is going to be episode 7.
Not to make it confusing in any way, huh?
Of The Hills Have Nerds. I'm one of your hosts, Josh. With me is Aaron.
I'm Aaron, and this is with me, Cody.
I don't believe you, but I will allow it. We also have Lee sitting here.
Hello, and back to Josh. I even told you how I was going to do it. You messed it up.
No one told me nothing.
I absolutely did. Anyway, thank you. One day, we will do this intro thing right.
We never will, and you'll love it every time.
So anyway, this is going to be episode 7 of The Hills Have Nerds. And today, we're going to talk about just nerddom in general. What does that word nerd mean on a grand scale, on a personal scale, what growing up nerdy is, and just kind of take a more abstract dive into nerddom in general, with no real specific, pop cultural focal point like we have usually. However, before we do that, what's everybody been up to? Aaron, what are you playing? What are you reading? What are you watching?
Watching recently, went through and rewatched Futurama because the new season's coming out.
I should mention that it is July 24th.
First episode has dropped.
Yeah, the first episode dropped today, apparently.
Oh.
So
yeah, I need to watch that.
Really excited about that. Playing, not much new. Still playing Tears of the Kingdom.
You beat it yet?
Nope. I'm on the final mission still, and just need to go there, but I'm having fun doing other things.
You beat it yet, Lee?
Yeah.
Did you beat it?
No, I'm on the final mission.
No. You guys have had it for months.
I've been renovating an apartment for like 2 months.
In Tears of the Kingdom? Because you can build a lot.
Yes,
I did do that in Tears of the Kingdom, but I mean my actual apartment.
Anything else here?
Did just watch Oppenheimer.
We did. And Barbie.
Both of them were pretty good. I really enjoyed Oppenheimer a lot.
Yeah, Oppenheimer was amazing. Absolutely incredible. Cillian Murphy is just a force to be reckoned with anytime he takes the screen. Peaky Blinders or Oppenheimer or really whatever he's in is great.
He was in Inception, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in Inception. Cillian Murphy is one of those actors where I know him when I see him, but I could not tell you what he's in. You know what I mean?
Red Eye, Batman.
Yeah, Batman. He was the Scarecrow in Batman.
Yeah, he was. He was the Scarecrow in Batman. Christopher Nolan's Batman. So he's worked with Nolan before, and then maybe that's why I got the Oppenheimer thing. But he was just absolutely amazing. Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer was good. He was fantastic as Dr. Strauss or Jim Strauss.
I know he had said that it was nice to get back to like traditional acting outside of playing Iron Man, because he said he thought he had lost some acting skills just playing Iron Man. He's like, I'm basically just standing in a suit saying things. I'm not actually acting, which to a point, I guess, yeah. But
Robert Downey Jr. as Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. So I think it said Marvel just releases a movie without any type of CGI. It's just actors with the green screen. They're just not even worrying about it anymore. So we're gonna watch it.
Well, that's about it. That's really nothing super new. I'm excited about Remnant 2 coming out, but we haven't got there yet.
It's tomorrow.
It is.
Yeah. What is Remnant?
Remnant 2 is a Souls-like third person with guns. So
First
Shadow
one,
the
I don't know.
Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Like Shadow the
Yeah.
Hedgehog.
hey,
Yeah, I hear it's the Souls of Souls games. So
yeah,
Cody, you're gonna be playing that too?
probably. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up immediately. I'm trying to see how much money I have after the apartment, but yeah, I'm going to
we're
play it.
all broke and poor.
Have you seen it?
Separately.
Have you seen it, Lee? What, Remnant or Remnant 2?
I've seen Remnant. I played a little bit of it. I played maybe 2 or 3 hours, probably with you guys actually, and I can't remember
Maybe.
who I played with, but I just didn't really get into it.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, we finished Remnant. The first
It's a gun game, and I was like, you know what? Give me that hammer. I'm going to go beat stuff with
Exactly.
one. Yep. Cody did Melee.
I watched the video because I like the melee builds too, and just on the viability of melee. And it said apparently with Remnant 2 has this multi-class system in it, and you can that melee is more viable than ever in Remnant 2, alive and well. But there are still flying bosses.
Yeah, some of those bosses were just...
You know,
Where
what are you
you
gonna do?
Stand on the ground and curse the sky. That's what I do.
Basically, I want to hit them with my sword.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, you wait till you come down here. I'm gonna give you such a pinch.
That's when you need an emo system, so you
Yeah.
just sit there and emo the whole time.
While it bombards you with fireballs and acid and death beams.
Please gesticulate.
All right, Cody, what are you into? What are you reading, watching,
I
consuming?
haven't been doing much outside of the renovation, but I have been working on a Bloodborne campaign for the Steinhardts when it comes out.
And what is Steinhardt's again?
It's it's a 5e companion mod that's basically an Eldritch storytelling. So, and Bloodborne was the game that it was originally based off for its whole storytelling system. So
I hear it's the
Okay.
Dark Souls of tabletop games.
It's a Souls-like tabletop game. You have to actually somersault when your character turns it on.
I mean, that's mainly with the renovations and it being summer. I've not had a whole lot of time to do much.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I'm excited to play that. I know you've been putting a lot of work into it. And
Yeah, I spent 30 minutes looking up the meaning of flowers.
What does it mean?
that's what he said when we got in here and asked him how it was going. He said, "Yeah, I've been spending 30 minutes looking at the meaning of flowers." I said, "Cody, you know we're going to derail that in like 5 seconds.
I know, but
Whatever you're planning is not going to come to fruition."
I don't care if you guys derail it, but I want a structure there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're gonna hit
I want
invisible walls.
The herbological structure.
I want the storytelling to be like in line, whether you guys follow it or not. So after you guys derail everything, kill everything, and then go off and be like, okay, we're done, I can be like, okay, well, here's the rest of the story that you
Here's what
guys
you
missed.
would've got if you hadn't went in spirals.
Cody's
But
gonna be that DM who shows up with the binder that's like 7 inches thick, and it's like he's like, all right, now if you'll turn to page 32 of your
no,
curriculum.
For my last email.
What about you, Lee?
not that bad.
About an hour and 47 minutes ago, I beat Final Fantasy 16.
Woo!
Heck yeah!
It was fantastic.
Still riding that high.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Get this. I was watching the credits, and I was like, I gotta go. So I went and took a shower, came out, the credits were still rolling. Got my clothes on, got ready, credits were still rolling. I mean, like, the credits in that game go forever.
Good God.
But yeah, it was really good. I've been playing through it. Finally finished it up. I've been playing Lunar Silver Star Story Complete on stream. I've been
Great game.
playing Robo Trick on a handheld device.
Not a phone, though.
No.
No.
Not a
Dear
phone.
God, no, not a
Not
phone.
a fun.
What was... Did I tell you about
You're
how
not
much I
poor
hate
enough
that?
for phone games.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's kind of a big quote.
That's why I bought that, baby.
There's an episode titled "I'm Not Poor Enough for Phone Games."
Yeah,
Good.
we're putting that on T-shirts and
I'm getting
everything.
pretty good. I'm getting these one-liners in there.
Get them in there. We'll see when that episode comes out how that's received.
I'm not poor enough for fun games.
I'm not poor enough to play
I don't
phone.
know.
Well, I stand
some,
by
of these,
Yeah.
some of these phones are more expensive than the consoles.
Yes, they are. Yes,
They are. They're rough.
Actually, my phone was more expensive than my computer.
Yeah.
So, my PC desktop.
God, that's so sad.
Yep.
See, I can't. My wife and daughter want the newest, right? That's what they want, and so we pay payments on that and whatever. But I'll go down and just whatever is on the penny plan, whatever's the most
Yeah.
recent phone that I can get with my plan for a penny, and give me that, and that will do me to play Pokemon Go every now and then, and to sit on the toilet and play whatever little bubble breaker game I'm playing, or Marvel Snap or whatever have you.
Reeks of poop and poverty.
Might as well just throw the phone in the toilet, right?
I don't know how well kicking your ass is going to sound on this podcast.
You can see the Lowe's landing.
Smells like poop.
So before we have a brawl,
Me, what have I been playing? What have you been playing, Josh? I haven't really been playing Pokemon. We got out of Pokemon Go a while back. I opened it up every now and then just to like check around shinies. Where I'm working right now, I am just like a centimeter away from a Pokestop where my desk is.
Oh, dang.
And so to get to the Pokestop, I had to get up and walk down the hallway, and I ain't doing that. At the old hospital I worked at, we had 2 Pokestops right on either side of where I was at, and I could reach them both from where I sat, and it was amazing.
That's awesome.
But here, it's nothing. It's just desolation. As far as I've been playing this game, and Aaron plays it with me right now. It's called Soul Worker, and we found it's a free to play game. It is.
It's about evangelism.
It's an MMO. It's like an anime style MMORPG. Has the little towns are like centralized hubs, and you pick up your quest and you get with your team and you go on a quest. You go to like a dungeon, clear it, come back. There's no like open world exploration to it. The classes are cool. All the classes are different. They're little anime girls, and there's like 2 dudes. And they all have big, massive, oversized weapons and big, massive, oversized everything else. And my only qualm with the game, the loot's cool, the leveling system's great, the little world's cool, the story's pretty solid, little cutscenes are okay. My only qualm with it is loot that you pick up does not change the appearance of your character.
Yeah, that sucks.
And the only way you change the appearance of your character is with these costumes. And you can loot and craft them, and obviously, yeah, you can buy them. But I'm having fun with the free-to-play stuff, and they're not going to dime out of me, but...
I'm not poor enough to play free to play.
Wait a second.
For the guy who's been playing Omega Strikers for the past month and a half.
Yeah. We are all poor enough to play free-to-play games.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah. All right. So, anybody want to add anything else?
Yeah, don't let my protests fool you. I am indeed poor.
Oh, I do want to add something. We didn't talk about Barbie. Listen, we talk about nerdy stuff, but we got to talk about Barbie. Like, you can't talk about nerdy collectors and like pop culture toys and things and not bring up Barbie.
Sure, I can. Watch this. Let's move on.
No, we're talking about Barbie. Barbie was fantastic.
It was really funny.
Was it a life in plastic?
It kind of, no, not really.
Yes, and
a little bit for a second, and then it came out. No spoilers for it, but it was like really good.
Barbie
and it came away
at the end.
came away with a lot of male guilt, masculine guilt at the end. But it was really good. Ryan Gosling as Ken was fantastic.
Yeah, how's that Margot Robbie?
Awesome.
Is she?
I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad movie. I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad, even in like the Suicide Squad crap. What do you like her in?
I didn't like Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, Suicide Squad was horseshit.
Yeah,
it's absolutely garbage. Not because Margot Robbie.
Right,
was
exactly.
bad.
Exactly. And so I was like, man, I hope she got the opportunity to shine in this one.
Yeah.
Unlike in Suicide Squad, where it's like she's the best part of the movie. You
Yeah.
know?
Now, did you watch the Suicide Squad, the second one with King Shark?
No.
That
Wait,
was-
no. I
it's
think
much
I watched
better.
half of it.
It's better, and I'm doing air quotes. It's better than the first one, but it's still not great.
Okay.
I mean,
I've
they're
not
still
watched either,
on
so.
Marvel level, no, but
Not even
it's
Marvel.
still-
They're
It's
just
good
not
for DC, right?
dude.
Yes, it's good for DC. That's the kicker.
Nah.
I thought it was
Is
good
it?
for DC.
It's like you order from Temu and it comes in, you go, that's not bad.
The first Wonder Woman's good for DC.
Starro was good in it.
Yeah.
Like,
Banger.
having Starro in it, Jack Flag was good in it. But yeah, the first Wonder Woman was amazing.
Said Starro was good in it.
Yeah.
Starro was good in it. The CGI generated Starro.
I mean, I thought having Starro and what they did with Starro was good. Their use of Starro and the way they used Starro was solid.
Yeah.
Not that, the voice actor that made grunts as Starro is great. But, Yeah, Jack Flag was really good. John Cena was good. Was okay as Peacemaker.
Got his own series.
He did.
Which was really good. I enjoyed the series too.
It's okay.
I liked it.
I didn't watch it.
I don't think Peacemaker's like what I want out of my.
It's coming in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he is coming in Mortal Kombat.
John
Kombat
Cena's
1.
coming.
Yep,
Really?
and
And
Omni-Man.
Peacemaker,
Omni-Man.
Omni-Man,
Oh,
Homelander.
Peacemaker. Okay.
Homelander's
I
coming
thought you
too.
meant like John
No, it's
Cena.
just John Cena. Yeah, he's taking place of Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
So we're getting Homelander from The Boys, like you said,
Yeah.
Cody. We're getting Omni-Man from Invincible, which, talking about cartoons from a past episode, we didn't touch on Invincible.
Yeah.
Invincible's amazing.
Yeah,
So I think we
New
did
season
touch on
soon.
it. Yeah.
Really?
There's that little snippet for Adam Eve. You watched that?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's good. And then Peacemaker coming to Mortal Kombat 1, which is
That's awesome.
not a reboot, right? The way they were talking about it's like not a continuation. It's
I
like
have no
Listen,
idea.
I have long been lost to the Mortal Kombat storyline for a while.
I know there's Outworld and somebody's going to take some souls and someone's going to lose a spine at some point.
That's all I need to know.
And that's really all you need to. Yeah,
All I know is Raiden is a good guy in quotation marks, and
I know Robert
So-
Kirkman was like fanboying out when they wanted to put Omni-Man in Mortal Kombat. I read an article about that. And he was saying, like, dude, Mortal Kombat inspired 90% of what I do. For anybody that knew Robert Kirkman that's the creator of The Walking Dead, who everybody knows what The Walking Dead is, and Invincible, the two comics that those shows are based off of. And he was super excited that Omni-Man, kind of the main antagonist in Invincible, is going to be in Mortal Kombat. As a big fan of Mortal Kombat. All right, so let's move into our main topic of the day, and our main topic is again an abstract one, and we struggled for a little bit with how to phrase this question. Or at least I know I did. I don't know how you guys. You may have just woke up this morning like I know exactly what I'm going to say.
I never know what I'm going to say. So.
I never do. Even on a normal basis, very well what's on this podcast.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem.
You might not be wrong.
That's why we need to pay Travis.
that's really what we need to pay Travis.
Sorry, Travis.
Oh, poor
Not sorry.
editing Travis.
He's like trying to keep up with the
Okay,
points
someone-
on the board.
Okay, so
For just pennies a day, you can
Sarah McLachlan playing in the background. It's just Travis just weeping. So our topic today is, what does it mean to be a nerd? What was it like growing up into nerditry? Like what do we mean when we call ourselves nerds? What do we really mean like that? And we touched on this a little bit in our inaugural episode, but then we kind of just devolved into, do you like this? Oh, I like this. What do you like? You like that? Yeah. And then we just kind of, pat each other on the back with this echo chamber of confirmation.
I enjoyed that.
I need a pat on the back.
I love affirmation.
It's
Watch
what
the number
keeps
go
me
up.
going.
I'm not poor enough to need affirmation.
That makes one of us.
So Lee, you brought this up as an episode topic you really wanted to do. Why?
I actually don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the argument of definition. It's like, with an argument of definition, you establish, there's different ways to approach it. But you can establish a definition, then challenge that definition, or you can go create your own definition based off of that. And I've been trying to kick around and figure out what I want to say regarding nerdom and what it is to be a nerd. And I think part of it for me is when you are willing to invest your time and yourself into something without fear of public ridicule. That makes sense? It's kind of like, Henry Cavill, I think of, is a nerd for like Warhammer.
Yeah.
So it's not like Henry Cavill, who's an extremely handsome man and very, everybody. Boy howdy. Seen as a very cool dude, doesn't care to put it out there that he's big on Warhammer, that he's big on these games
World
and
of
such,
Warcraft
right? That he's like all of this stuff. I feel like that's what makes one a nerd. Because otherwise, I guess, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, are you willing to fly your freak flag for whatever you like?
It's unabashed indulgence.
That's a good word.
Yeah. Unabashed indulgence. I guess indulgence may be a little too strong, but just Like Lee said, let your freak flag fly. Anybody else want to add anything to that? I got a couple of things. Want to add anything to what Lee said?
No.
No.
No. That's what he wanted to add. Not he didn't have anything to add.
What?
He wanted to add no.
Flying your freak flag can draw ire, you know that.
Yeah.
It's like in school that was the thing. It's like if you draw too much, if you become if you become conspicuous, what makes thee conspicuous offends the canon. Like everybody gets mad. It's like, oh, look at this weird dude that's got the Tamagotchis or whatever. I'm not coming from a place of hurt. I'm just saying.
I saw a thing, and it was people online that talk about getting bullied in high school. It was like a little meme. It just, you weren't bullied because you liked Tamagotchis and your Naruto ran in the hallway. You were bullied because you didn't shower for 2 weeks and you barked at people.
That's fair.
That's what I wanted to talk about. How back in the day, even look even further than our generation. Looking back, look at shows like Happy Days, things like that. You always have the nerds come in and they got bullied. They were just goofy. They were, they had the pocket protectors. They did math. They played Dungeons and Dragons. They got bullied around. And now you look and the nerds are the cool guys who play.
That's actually a really good point you made. Like drawing back to the Happy Days was in the 70s. It was made in the 70s. It was about the 50s, but drawn back to 1950s because I got this. Doing a little bit of research for the show, and we're going to be off the cuff a little bit with what we're talking about. It's not going to be as formed as some of the stuff we do.
Which is just a short thing. Say Josh didn't make show notes.
I had to work. I apologize. I had a lot of work to do.
Oh my gosh. Like your work's more important than the podcast.
It's not. It definitely isn't, but I had a lot of work to do today.
It's understandable.
You guys work today?
Shut up.
I did.
Lee was at home and he was like, Josh will make show notes, and they started playing games.
I literally have them typed up on my work computer, and then we got a phone call, and I had some stuff to go.
It happens. So
I have pulled up here, and this is an article on Merriam-Webster.com, and what I started doing was just trying to find the origin of the word nerd, origin of the word geek, stuff like that. That word that we now wear as a flag of pride. Or where as a coat of arms, where that came from. And what I ended up kind of stumbling across there were dozens of different things. I found like 4 or 5 different videos and articles that were talking about it, and then I came across this Merriam-Webster article, and it summed all of them. All of them up. And so I just want to read a couple of things where they think it may have come from. So the first occurrence of the word nerd in print. Anybody know where that came from?
1750s Italy. I have no idea.
Mad Magazine.
Nope.
I ain't got a clue. I don't read.
Dr. Seuss.
Really?
Yeah, in 1950. It was in the book If I Ran the Zoo, and the little clip from it is, and then, just to show them, I'll sell a catrue and bring back an itkutch, a preep and a prue, a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker, too. So a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker, too. And so nerd, that was the first, foundation of N-E-R-D in print, was in Dr. Seuss's If I Ran the Zoo.
Yeah, I'm sure there was no meaning attached to that yet. It was just a nonsensical
Yeah,
word.
just
just
something.
It's Dr. Seuss. Of course it was a nonsensical word.
It was like, here's the zoo and here's the nerd.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Sure.
And then the following year, Newsweek carried an article about like the latest slang coming around. And in Detroit, they started using the word nerd. And it was someone who used to be like a square or a drip or so the quote is, someone who once would be called a drip or a square is now, regrettably, a nerd. Or, and we need to bring this one back, in less severe cases, a scurv.
A scurv.
A scurv.
A scurv sounds cool.
A skirt, right?
Scurvy.
The hills have scurvs.
Actually,
You
no.
better believe next episode I'm saying I went to the hills have scurvs.
When you put it that way, it almost sounds like a disease.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like I need to go get a powder or something.
They used to have roaming ambulances that would treat scurvs. And
You don't know what this means now, but in a month you will.
when that flares up.
Have you drank the water from the Appalachians? You may have scurvs.
So
Maybe
then,
entitled to compensation.
so in the 1960s, Nerd takes off, starts appearing more frequently, and over that decade, and then there was like an alternate spelling of it with like N-U-R-D, and then it started coming into print, and then like in the 70s it was really abundant, and around the 70s is when like the colloquial usage of nerd came into play. And so there was a there's a couple other little neat origins to it. So instead of Dr. Seuss, an alternate origin for nerd was this dude. He was a ventriloquist by the name of Edgar Bergen was the ventriloquist, and his dummy was Mortimer Snerd. Yeah, and
Is that like a s'more?
He played him as like a
nerd.
Snerd, and he played him like a country bumpkin, like a hillbilly.
Perfect.
That's Mortimer Snerd was a hillbilly, and
Schnurds? Is that what we are?
The hills
we're
have
Snerds. We're Snerds. The hills have Snerds.
And scurv.
This is according to Newsweek.
Them scurvy shirts.
A nerd. That's when Newsweek called Mortimer Snerd a nerd. So Snerd's drippy qualities were magnified by his sophisticated foil, the dummy Charlie McCarthy. Which everybody remember the ventriloquist dummy Charlie McCarthy? That was the big. That's the one that looks like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
You've ever seen like the quintessential ventriloquist? If you ever watch Goosebumps, imagine Slappy.
Yeah.
That's Charlie McCarthy. Slappy.
Oh, we keep saying these words, and Travis will be like, do I upload this to SoundCloud? Or do I just put a beat on the background? It's like, snurr here, figure Is this mumble rap, or is this like podcast?
Hey, there's two more for the origin of nerd, and one was it came from the slang nerds, like nerds, like something bad happened. Like that guy's a nerds, he's gonna mess something up, he's gonna come in and cause a problem, or it was spelled K-N-U-R-D, and I'm trying to remember the college. Hold on, and this was at and. Webster doesn't mention the college. There was a college where they used slang for their drunken party goers, and they called them nerds because nerd is drunk backwards. K-N-U-R-D.
Wow.
So that, but there's no like agreed upon origin.
So if you're drunk enough and somebody's wrote that down, do you read it as drunk?
I guess.
I don't know.
I've read a lot of things as drunk before. Not in a long time.
Drink, drunk.
Okay, was I making noise on the table?
No. It's easier.
Nice. Aaron has brought me a Force of Will playmat to set my phone on because our table's hard plastic, and I think I was making noise.
You were being very dainty. You were like,
oh yeah,
and you kept picking it up, looking at it, and laying it down,
I
and then
mean,
pick it up and
it's
look
a
at it,
club.
and
It's
then
my
lay it
thing.
down. Well, I know, but I just that way you didn't have to be so dainty
You're
about
so
it.
sweet.
Now
Don't
you
call
can
me dainty in front of our listener.
Yeah.
Now you can just throw it.
Do you need to watch Barbie again? It's okay.
I really do need to watch Barbie. Yes, it was amazing. Barbie and we did the double feature. We took the kids. We rented out the private theater. It was amazing to watch that back to back. So good.
That's us going off the rails.
Well, I'm just saying, Barbie and Oppenheimer were incredible.
So square, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The idea of being a square is, I guess, somebody who's like a stickler for the rules, right?
Follow all the rules.
Well, I said something I was talking about with Nathan recently was about board games and like how it's hard to get kids into like board games because it really comes down to convincing a kid that rules can be fun.
Yeah.
So that's what board games are. It's a set of rules, and then it's like, well, yeah, but these rules are important. This is what keeps it fun.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's something like there's some kind of correlation there between the idea of being a square and that sort of idea. Just structure is important. I mean, of course, rules apply to everything. Like if you're playing video games, there's rules, there's boundaries.
Yeah.
So
I think you're looking at like the 50s when you had that kind of greaser culture that was coming around.
It's breaking out of the box, man.
Yeah.
It's breaking away from the
the
standard.
Rock and roll was getting big. That was this counterculture was just in its infancy. And so you needed a way to identify the others, the ones that were like holding tight. So you had Square, maybe Nerd came around from that or whatever. And then, like the article said, if it picked up in the 60s and 70s, that's when you really got like your beatnik culture. Your hippies, your free love movement, these where you have the drips, the guy, because when you think of nerd, like you said before, or Cody, you said, when we thought of nerd growing up, it was like Alpha from the Little Rascals, or Milhouse from The Simpsons, or Steve Urkel. Right? Like Steve Urkel was the nerd. Like the big glasses. And
you think of the nerds from like Saved by the Bell. They had the guys with the thick glasses.
Screech,
they had the slick. They had the gelled hair, and they come in with the dress shirts. They had the pocket protectors, suspenders.
They're so uncool, man. Nobody wants to look like that.
But that's almost devolved more into a geek rather than a nerd anymore.
What's the difference between geek and nerd?
Subcultures.
It depends, because at one point there was a difference of nerd was more into like gaming or D&D, reading, like they had like this subculture of whatever, and then it turned into geeks was more into like the mathematical or the education, like sciencey. And that's, I don't know if that's like a widely accepted thing or like it was
that's interesting
an area.
Definitely not widely accepted, because the stuff I was reading, Geek versus Nerd, were the mirror opposite. The nerds were the.
Well, I think that's how it started, and they're almost reversing roles more recently.
I think it really depends who you ask.
Yeah,
it's where you're at, who you ask.
Yeah,
because I've seen other things talking about it, and like it was almost like they were reversing roles now.
Yeah,
but I mean that's.
Yeah.
I know I'd rather be referred to as a nerd than a geek, just given the etymology of the words. Because geek, I do know, comes from like turn of the century 1920s freak shows. The geeks were the ones that were biting the heads off chickens and stuff. They were geek freak. That's where geek comes from.
Sounds hardcore. Why would that go into what it is now?
Great movie about that, and also an amazing book, Nightmare Alley, with Bradley Cooper, and it is absolutely incredible. Highly suggest everyone watch it. But yeah, geek originated from the carnival folk. Went through that.
Yeah, at school. I know at school when they do like a nerd day or whatever, that's kind of the typical roll your pants up a little bit, kind of the 50s nerd look, button up for sure.
It's crazy that that's lasted like that.
Yeah, it's a little. I'm like, this is appropriation. That's all this is.
It's the stereotype, right? Like that's like if you say like greaser or motorcycle dudes, the guy in the leather jacket with the slick back hair. And
every year for
shit's persistent.
For Nerd Day or whatever at school, they'll be like, "Where's your outfit?" I'm like, "I'm a nerd every day." So
I don't have to dress up.
Yeah, it's who we are all the time. I mean, I got my scrubs on. I got Captain America. I got my Marvel scrubs on that my mom sewed on for me.
No,
she did. We wore the scrubs and she hemmed them and sewed these pockets on. They're fantastic. So we got the history of the word down. So we know where we think it came from. So when did it become? What was the switch? Like, because I remember growing up, nerds, geeks, things like that were still, I guess, quote unquote, a bad thing. Which, I mean, I don't know now. We're in our 30s, man. Like I'm at that point. Yeah, I'm getting disconnected. I talk to my kids, and all I want to do is go apologize to my parents for being a teenager. It's all I want to.
That's why I don't have kids.
It'll happen.
I apologize for nothing.
Oh my God,
I'm still terrible.
I love my children so much, but I don't understand what you're saying 90% of the time.
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, when did
if it makes you
a whole episode
makes you feel any better, they probably don't either.
Oh, I'm the absolute most uncool dude in the world. I have a dragon head on my mantle, and my children look at me like I'm just the most uncool person. Like, how cool is that? I got a dragon head.
That's pretty cool.
So,
killed it myself.
Actually, it leads into my thought of what we were talking about, where it switched. where nerd come from uncool to now it's cool. And I think, and my theory is that a lot of
I'm sure there's somebody who wrote something about it.
probably. I think it's a lot where the parents, nerds become parents, and they teach their kids, and now their kids go to school, and they're like, it's as the ages have gone, it's become more and more acceptable. And plus, another thing is a big boom with the video game scene.
Yeah,
the video game industry really pushed that a lot too.
Yeah.
And that was a big uproar in like D&D coming back.
Yeah, D&D
being more popular. So
we had the like nerds associated with like the Poindexter, the computer nerd, the guy that's like tapping away on the computer, the computer nerd, the geek, the dork, whatever, the nomenclature you want to use. Like you had that computer nerd thing, and then as computers became more widespread, like you said,
that's technology.
Yeah, and so everybody's a computer nerd now, right? To an extent.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And so it's so integrated in that definition, then kind of petered away.
Right. If they're not computer nerds, they're banging around on their phone, which is a computer. So.
And it all comes to what it becomes. What is not the normal anymore is now the outliner. That's what becomes the nerd, the new nerd.
Yeah.
Now is
it's like jocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Screw it up.
Do you play football?
Who likes jocks?
Nerd.
I really think the emergence of a lot of things at once. The uprise in technology, the popularity of video games, Lord of the Rings, actually, when it came out in theaters, these sort of things. It was like
popular superhero movies too. I mean, you had like the Tim Burton
superhero
Batmans and stuff. Yeah,
superhero
movies.
Marvel. I mean, anime's picked up real heavy as being more popular.
That was huge. I didn't realize how huge anime was during COVID for people. My word.
That's like the time I was in high school. I think I knew like maybe 4 people that would watch an anime every now and then, and that's. I mean, even me, I didn't really like. I mean, watch a Full Metal Alchemist on Adult Swim occasionally when it came on, but as far as I actually watch outside of like the Toonami stuff, no, I didn't.
I remember growing up watching, like Ranma Half and having to like send away from the 4Kids book of the you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Or it wasn't 4Kids, it was another thing. It might have been 4Kids. Like send away to get these animes. You can find them anywhere. Like you weren't going to go down to the video store and pick this up. You didn't have Netflix.
I had
it was probably
I had a wealthy friend who liked anime.
Yeah.
We'll call him S. Hain.
There we go.
And so we
Shonen Jumps,
when we get into that because I had buddies that were into it and it just kind of trickled down, but now like everything's prevalent. Like you go on to like try to look for something online and you can get anything you want.
Yeah,
streaming
it's accessibility.
Yeah, there's sources everywhere for it.
Has accessibility.
I think that's partially what's helped on it too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the accessibility.
Think about console video gaming, dude. How expensive some of those were back in the day, and now it's like every kid I know has, even beyond playing on their phone. Every kid I know has some kind of console or handheld video game.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like even
there's that, but people were complaining about like prices of like the PS4 and 5 being like $400 and $500 when they came out. But some of the consoles from like the 90s when they were coming out were $400 and $500 then.
The 3DO was like $800.
Yeah. And I know technically, accounting for inflation, it's about the same, but they're not really that much more expensive.
And then, of course, computer technology. Computers are a lot cheaper now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can get, like I said, I can get a phone service plan and pay a penny and have internet on my phone. I mean, and these are essentially computers. I mean, they are computers. Let's say.
My grandmother, she bought.
It's a computer.
My grandmother bought a VCR whenever they first came out, and I think it was $200 or $300 for the VCR.
Yeah.
Yeah, unreal.
I think it was $2.
Just so it could eat a $20 tape.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of that was nerd being used as an exclusion out of jealousy and protest. So it's like, hey, look at that nerd with his computer and stuff. I wonder if any of that stuff had to do with like the financial competence one had to have those things. It's like out of jealousy, somebody be like, well, look at that nerd and his computer, or that nerd and the stuff they're interested in. Because honestly, if you're into nerdy culture, my word, it's expensive.
You weren't here the other day when we did the tabletop
Warhammer. What the fuck?
Yeah, the Warhammer episode. But we were talking about pricing on that, and I mean it is. And I was just I was at the gaming company today before we came down here and recorded, and was talking to Nathan about Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we were looking at pricing on those miniatures, and it's like a pack with a not put together, unpainted Captain America and Human Torch, and it is $39 for just Cosmic Ghost Rider. Yeah. It was $48.
Yeah,
Thanos was $80.
Who looked at Games Workshop and was like, we have to compete with these price points. We have to go higher. We have to go better.
And I don't understand, if you love it and you want to pay for it and you got the money for it, I mean, by all means, support that stuff because it's stuff we like, but
it's ridiculous.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But like you said, like you got to have either that's got to be what you are saving for.
Yeah.
You know, or you are of some type of means.
Yeah, that's. I think if you're like, well, no, I'm not gonna say that. That's a rough stereotype.
What?
I have a friend. We'll say this. I have a friend who makes really good money working in a factory. He's single and lives with a parent. Helps take care of this parent. But it was like he has so much extra money, he just buys Warhammer like crazy.
Man, if you can do it,
I was like, I think it's almost
power to you, bro.
Yeah, it's like a requirement at that point. You're like a sleeper agent,
yeah,
Warhammer enthusiast.
I mean, yeah.
When you hit that financial threshold or whatever, it goes, I got my Warhammer.
But that's for everything, right? I mean, you could put that not just Warhammer, but like if you're really into like rebuilding cars.
Oh yeah,
and you're trying to like get a certain type of car,
smokers, barbecue.
It's whatever you're a nerd for, right?
Speaking of the car, Dad had a 55 Chevy. It's a Bel Air that was sitting in Tennessee. Motorcycle hit it before we could get it. Crushed the hood on it. And I mean, this was an unfinished hood, but I mean, it was still solid. That was a $1,000 hood. It's like a $300 hood now, if that, because a motorcycle hit it.
Oh,
but I mean, $1,000 hood for, and I mean that's just the hood. That's not counting any of the rest of the parts, because I mean it's like $800 doors. So I mean, if you want to build an old car, super expensive.
Yeah. And then, there's people that make the argument, yeah, but that's a car. These are little toys.
Oh, that's
making. But at the same time,
that frustrates me.
It does, right? But, I mean, the car's practical at some point. I will play a little bit of devil's advocate. You can drive the car,
right?
Yeah,
but you're doing that for enjoyment. And I don't think anybody's going to drop. I mean, some people do. You drop thousands upon thousands of dollars in restoring some kind of old car solely so they have it to drive practically.
Right.
Most of the people that restore the old cars to the point of being showroom perfect don't even drive them to places. Yeah. They load them in trailers.
Right.
At that point, they're no different than the little minis that you're buying and carrying around.
There was a...
they're just larger.
An armada of Shelby GT Mustangs that went down the road the other day, and they were sharp.
I've seen them.
I'm not a car guy, but I can appreciate them. Like, I've seen them 3 times. I don't know what they're doing.
It's
greasers.
They're a mob.
People that come into town and they drive different cars like every other weekend or something.
Oh, that's
crazy because they have matching cars. It's just like a group of people that are car enthusiasts. And
I bet they swing. I would put money on their swings. Anyway,
I don't know.
Well, we had talking about people buying, like spending money. It's people want to buy. I feel like some people buy for copium, like they're going for. They're going for those endorphins. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. That hit of dopamine.
Yeah, that hit of dopamine. And we had a friend who played card games. And every time a new set would come in, he would just come in and be like, what do you got?
He'd buy 2 or 3 boxes. He'd buy
three or four, 2 or 3 boxes. He'd just drop it. And those boxes are like $120, $130 each. And he'd just be like, I'm going to buy a few of these boxes.
He just liked opening packs.
Yeah. That's what he likes.
That's scratch offs.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in you can't take this crap with you, right? As long as your stuff's paid for, your family's taken care of, and you don't have somebody starving back home and you're not living in squalor, and you're taken care of. Like, who cares what you spend your money? You can't take it with you. Like if you can help somebody out with you and donate to charity, go for it. But
I think it's one of the frustrating things.
Be content.
I had that conversation like 10 years ago, maybe. So I feel like it's relatively recent. I'm sure I've had it since.
Yeah.
This lady was like, I can't believe you spend so much money on video games. But she was like a horse person. She liked horses. And I was like, do you know how much horses are, lady?
How much feed is?
Yes. Horses are insanely expensive.
Right now, it's like $10 a bag for a okay feed.
You have horses?
Yeah, I've got one right now. We used to have more,
I know you have the other hand. I didn't know you have a horse.
but it's like $10 a bag. And I mean, depending on the size of the horse, you can go through a bag in like 2 days.
Yeah. Horses are expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Just like-
oh, they say, I can't understand how you do this. I'm like, how can you not understand how I do this?
Yeah, it's the same
And I
thing.
mean,
Yeah,
the
it's-
feed is not all you're buying for them too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's the same thing with different media. That's all it is.
Yep. I agree.
That's real
And-
loud.
Is it really?
A little bit. I don't think it's picking up.
Nah.
Lee's eating a slushie and shifting around with the.
Thank
So you hear a.
Paid $1 for this, boys. I'm poor right now.
You need to open up some Candy Crush, I guess.
Thank you for joining us for the Hills Have Nerds ASMR episode.
As
We-
Lee struggles through the last episode of Slushie.
I'd probably listen to some Slushy ASMR, honestly.
You were stretching through that, man. I'll buy you a slushie if you need it.
There's our extra. There's our Patreon content right there. And the Lee Slushy ASMR.
If we ever do a Patreon, you subscribe, you get Lee. You get one of us will do an ASMR of your choice within reason.
Slushy.
Yeah, slushie.
It's like, we're like, we need to pay Travis. So I'm like, we need slush. Oh, yes, pay Travis.
Sick slushy lust. I want to do an episode about Slush Puppy. Lee suggested it every time. You guys remember? It's a little bit of an aside. Do you remember when Slush Puppy had the pogs on the bottom?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
That was sick. That was a good time.
That's
That
not
was
just
just,
an aside. Pogs were
yeah.
nerdy.
I mean, aside to what we're talking. I mean, you know what I mean. Just an
Yes.
aside
That's a
to
good
one,
the
yeah.
topics. But yeah, Slush Puppy had pogs. That was good.
Yeah.
Those were expensive too.
No, speaking of expensive,
So
like what's the most expensive game you've bought? Just curiosity.
What's your gross income?
I don't want the gross income. Just if you want to share, that's.
Think about it.
I
How much
already-
was that Final Fantasy VII Remake Collector's Edition?
I don't know what the collector's edition of it was.
If it was $350, that's the most. So it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Shantae was more than that. So.
Yeah. Oh, really? You paid out of pocket that much more for it?
Well, not much more. I paid $400 for it.
Not fair.
I mean, the most expensive piece of like nerd stuff I own is that Dragon Head, like hands down. Well, that I've paid or traded for, I guess. And I traded for that, I didn't pay for it. That I've paid for, I mean, like computers aside, right? Like we're not talking about like our
Yeah.
like my computer is hands down my
Yeah.
Yeah.
mostly. I mean, that's like $2,600.
Oh
is
my
what I spent on
goodness.
my computer.
Ooh, that's a lot of money.
But it's nice, and I only upgrade once every 10 years. So
Same.
Yeah.
And it's usually about the time that it goes down.
that's $26 a year. I spend $260 a year. I'm sorry, math. I'm not a math nerd.
For just pennies a day.
It actually
is.
is.
Travis.
That
It's
really
less
is
than 100. It is. It's less than 100 pennies a day. It's less than $1 a day. No, that's got to be. I mean, I guess Marvel Champions, but that's in like singular things.
Yeah,
Probably
that's spread out.
probably over
That's
a
spread out,
grand.
but I mean, as a whole, I guess you can count because I mean, it's all a
Well,
singular
yeah.
game, just modular packs.
Yeah, we can stare at my most expensive purchases right there. I mean,
You
it's
know, Zelda.
the collector's editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and they're really not as expensive as a lot of other stuff.
I still want that one.
How dare you?
Here's a weird question. It probably doesn't. Is there, what's considered expensive?
I think it's above retail for me.
Yeah.
Like
For me, anything other than like above
Anything over, like,
$20.
20, yeah. Anything over 20.
I mean, we talk about it all the time on Steam. We're like, you guys want to play this? We're like, how much is it? 15. Oof, that's too steep for me.
I don't think I've ever paid full price for anything else seen.
What's that Castle Crashers
It's
just
too cheap.
recently? We all kept looking at it. I was like, man, I kind of want to play that again, but I don't know. We'll wait until it goes on sale for like the $3.
The only thing I've ever paid full price on Steam has been Remnant 2. And that is the only thing. And I want to tell you a little secret. I paid $10 for it. I did phone app games that give you cash for playing the game.
What?
he's not poor enough for that. He doesn't.
I am
need that.
suddenly poor enough for this.
Yeah, you get like I played there's an app called Just Play, and it gives you like you can play different games.
Cents.
It gives you like cents every time you play.
That's cool.
But I get like 10 cents every time I play a game of solitaire. And over the last few months, I've just played a little bit of solitaire here and there. 10 cents a game. I build up, and I've got receipts I cash in with Fetch.
I want to interrupt you for a second. Just say we are not sponsored by anything.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I was
gonna say hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah.
Hashtag could be sponsored.
I do want to make,
Yes.
because we had Jay on with One Page Rules last time, and not really last time. Last time's the Halloween episode.
We told you.
We had Jay on from One Page Rules, and we talked about OPR quite a bit. But we are not sponsored. We didn't receive anything from any of that. Anything we talk to you guys about is like you're getting our actual unabashed opinions on this. And I promise I will tell you, and I know these guys will, if we're ever sponsored by something.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I will tell you ad nauseum.
We did it! We got sponsored. This one's brought to you by MeUndies. And that shit where they send you food. That one too.
HelloFresh.
HelloFresh. MeUndies. We're right here, baby.
Blue Apron.
Yeah, that thing.
Dude, you mentioned
Manscaped.
HelloFresh. They'll find us. I'm surprised they didn't drop through the ceiling.
Don't you raid Shadow Legends?
Raid Shadow Legends.
Stabbed a note to my door.
Oh, at home, there's a guy standing in my room. He's like, how'd you get in here? Can you sponsor?
We've digressed for about the last 15 minutes. Let's pull back a little bit. So we talked about
Us?
why we think Nerdom came through, and I had another point to make to that.
Oh, okay.
So we started on the price point, what you're seeing there, and that I had another point now, I've lost it because we talked. Because I know Lee brought up the like ostracization,
People being
due to
jealous.
almost jealousy, but that's like the parent thing. Like, oh, Mom, Billy's making fun of me on the playground. Oh, they're just jealous, baby. Get up here. What are we looking at?
That's a map of fiber that just hit downtown. My house is in that.
Neat.
There's your nerd.
Fiber just came through.
I can cut glass with my nipples.
Did you just get another episode title? I think we just what are nerds? I can cut glass with my nipples. I think we just found our other episode title.
That's just from the Larry the Cable Guy movie.
Yeah, I know, but Lee said it. So
Yeah.
It's got to be the title.
no, my point. I think also it comes from, and this was a point brought up in. Shut up. And this was a point brought up in some of the articles I was reading, is that nerds were associated with the ones that, kids in class or people in class, if we get up to that higher age post-secondary education. Nice. That were the ones that were doing the work. That were,
Yes,
teacher,
yes.
did you forget to take the homework?
I made a note
This,
about
that, and
that.
that. Yeah. There you go.
That's the kid that got punched after class.
Right, those were the nerds, the ones that were reminding there was work to do, that were excelling in the courses, that were, and that may break down to a jealousy or a fury thing again.
I agree.
I think a lot of bullying comes from just fear of being the one bully. I think a lot of like phobias come from that. I think a lot of homophobia, misogyny, misandry, race. I think a lot of that comes from fear of being the ostracized group. I really do. So bearing down and bullying a kid because they're different is so that you can prove you're not different.
Yeah.
I'm not like that kid. I'm like you guys.
I'm
that one's different. Let's target them. It's let me punch down so I don't get punched down.
Yeah.
Passing the buck.
Yeah.
That was always frustrating for me in school too. I don't feel like I was on the extreme end, because we mentioned a couple names that we're not going to mention on here, but people that we remember specifically for very things that you consider like a very unhealthy sort of nerdy, right? Like not showering sort of stuff, that dark place in nerddom. But the idea that apathy is cool is frustrating to me. I think it's part of like if you're a nerd for caring about your work and school or whatever, and for trying to do the best job and whatever, being invested in these concepts, does that mean apathy is cool? That's always been frustrating to me, because I do not think that.
I remember being a kid and telling my parents I made like a C or something. And I always made good grades. You know, school came fairly easy, but I was apathetic to certain things. And I remember telling my parents as an excuse that I thought this is good. This is a solid excuse to say. When my mom and dad were like, "Why did you make a C?" I was like, "Oh, because I don't want people to think I'm a nerd. I don't want people to think I'm uncool." So I'm doing that, and they immediately called bullshit. They just, absolutely immediately, and they were like, "Well, you are, so go in there, go play your Virtual Boy and shut up."
Play your Virtual Boy, get your headache.
Yeah. So I'm saying to you, throw up.
That might be what's wrong with me now. Oh,
the Virtual Boy? You had a Virtual Boy too?
Yeah. I like that.
Those
Mario
things
Tennis. Our house got robbed, and the Virtual Boy is the only thing they didn't steal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's
Probably the most
I'll
valuable
edit it
thing
now.
that they didn't steal.
That's actually, it sucks.
They're
House
like
got robbed.
$300 right now, something like that.
It's just hilarious that they let the Virtual Boy.
Well, they looked at it with, it didn't look like it was anything to
just-
steal, right?
Just leave it.
yeah.
I don't know what that is. That's going to turn you gay or something.
Don't touch it, Billy.
Don't pick that up.
Yeah, take the spoons. Yeah.
Did you guys, and feel free to answer if you want to, but did you guys ever have any bullying issues in
Yes.
school? You did?
Yeah. I did. In early school, pretty much after middle school, it all just disappeared. I really didn't have much of an issue. But before, yeah.
Yeah, I think at some point, I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I remember playing Magic and playing Pokemon cards. It seems like I remember a few people along the way. I'm sure I've probably been push that down and not deal with that.
Yeah.
Compartmentalize. But I'm pretty sure I had some negative experience with people calling me a nerd or something for whatever my enthusiasm was for at the time, whether it was Magic or video games or whatever else. Because I always had a Game Boy. I always had something.
That was about the same. I didn't really have anything past 6th grade.
Right.
But I always had Game Boy or Pokemon cards or something. Yeah. But in 6th grade, I also had a kid come up and take my Game Boy, and I beat his head into a picnic table.
Good.
So
called Cody the Crusher. 6th grade. The equalizer.
He had been picking on everybody for a while, and I was already a little aggravated with him anyway. And he just came up and took it. And I was like, okay, I'm done with him. And I didn't really have a problem with anybody after that. So,
that'll do it.
Leave that nerd alone. He's got anger issues.
I had a little bit of when I was real young and real fat. I was a flesh cube, man. I had eye cleavage. You know what I mean? Everything was mushed up. Couldn't tell what nationality I was anymore. Everything was blurred together. I had a little bit, but it was less of being a nerd, more just being fat. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever got picked on for playing with Pokemon cards or anything, or knowing all the Pokemon, or pretending to be Dragon Ball Z characters out on the schoolyard.
And we did.
Oh yeah, we did, man. Oh, I loved it. We need to do that again one day. Go out.
We just go in the yard right now.
I don't wait till the kids on the playground and go do it. That really escalates things.
Why are the cops here? Hi, ma'am. I just want to pretend to punch your child.
What's wrong with that guy out there? Call me.
What's that meme?
Oh, the two boxers.
The two boxers. They're standing in front of each other and they're getting ready. And the bell rings. Then one starts going, "Come me," and then the other one goes, "I'm out." Because I give up. And then they're interviewing him afterwards. He goes, "I don't think he could, but I wasn't going to stand around and see if he could."
I didn't want to take that chance, you know.
I ain't going to take a chance that he could. He probably couldn't, but I wasn't going to sit around and see.
I was thinking of the VG Cats comic when he has his DS and he's like, "Man, I can never get any street passes." They're like, "Well, go somewhere with a lot of people," and it shows him, and these cops come over, and he's like, "No, I'm here to meet kids."
There was a I can't remember the name of the webcomic, and I forget it every time I try to tell the story, and I have to try to link to it, show it if I can find it. But it's a guy's walking up to this drug dealer. He's like, "Hey man, you got what I need?" And he's like, "Yeah, what do you need?" He's like, "No, I don't need the drugs, just those little bags."
Oh yeah,
Ziploc bags. He's like, "Man, these board games, there's so many components. Need those little baggies, please." And the police are taking away. He's like, "No, I need the baggies."
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like being targeted for what I was into, I think I can remember a couple times we were playing stuff and maybe somebody said something off the cuff, but never to the extent that it was shown in like the after school things. And I know that stuff happens. Like
most of the times I was made fun of, it was by my own friends as we were doing the same thing.
We always ragged on each other, but I mean, it was like the only
some
thing
of that can stick though.
Yeah.
I never had anything like, nobody come over and like just push you down or, I mean, nothing violent or anything, but it was always, there was name calling and things like that.
I'd have around less than at school, and I think it was more like we all grew up together, so everybody knew each other. Maybe when you went to crossed over into the new like sixth grade or high school, then there was a new kind of pecking order that got established. And then in high school, I always played sports, so and then I got pretty, and that didn't last long.
I'm glad one of us did.
I think everybody here's a good looking dude.
I tried. I brushed my teeth this morning just for you.
We got our faces on that rock face. Everybody looks good on that.
Yeah.
I took a shower like 4:30.
Yeah.
Gotta count for something.
It's been everything's coming up Lee today.
I think it's about 5. It's not
So what was the appeal of that made you so I wanted to bring up the actual like current definition of nerd. And so when I look at its Oxford Dictionary as a noun, it's a person who is extremely enthusiastic and knowledgeable about a particular subject, especially one of specialist or niche interest. And that is as succinct as you can get it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anything negative about that. I think that's kind of the point, the reason I wanted to talk about it.
And then verb, as a verb, it's to engage in. If you're nerding out, to engage in or discuss a technical field obsessively or with great attention to detail.
Obsessively sounds like a more appropriate word sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, to that extent, it's like, who is not a nerd?
Yeah.
Like, it's an all-inclusive term. Like, even if, when I was younger, I would have been like a carpenter, like my dad or something. Like, he's not a nerd. But it's like, yeah, he was, to some extent. It's like, he knew
he's a nerd
stuff they like.
Yeah, he knows tons of stuff about carpentry and cars, and he's just a nerd for that.
I started to say he was a nerd for wood.
He's a nerd for wood. It's a nerd. Lee's dad's a nerd for wood.
Just like I'm.
That's it's like those people who, sports, they know the sports stats of each of these people.
Sports
it's
nerds.
like they have an infatuation with this and they know these statistics and they're like, I'm not a nerd. Well, yeah, you are. You're just a sports nerd.
Yeah. Oh, hands down.
It's like fantasy football is D&D.
It's Dungeons and Dragons for jocks is all it is.
It's like I seen another. It was a web comic. There was a guy come in. Like, I don't see how you can sit there and just watch somebody play a game. It's like a guy sitting there watching like a video game on YouTube, and then he walked over and sat down and started watching football.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like,
110%. I've had that conversation before. Definitely. How can you watch somebody play a game? You never watch sports, and sometimes the genuine answer would be no, I don't watch sports. Like, I don't do that. I'm like, okay, cool, I get that. Fair enough.
If you don't, then fair enough.
Yeah, it's also something I like, so go F yourself. How about that?
What a nerd.
Yeah, I think it's part of it. It's like there's a real weird, like, I hate to say hypocrisy because it's just a negative term, but like there's a weird hypocrisy with that sort of stuff, and like people not realizing or just so afraid of being ostracized and
that one's different.
Down.
Yeah, that one's different. I'm different than that guy. That guy has a bad, or that guy or girl or whoever has a bad habit. I don't have that.
Yeah, well, I mean
that's useless time spent. I'm more productive, or I'm.
I bought that for that purpose. This is a little Game Boy I've been using because it looks kind of like a phone. And when I go to meetings, it's okay if people sit and do this all day, but you look down upon if you have a Switch.
Yeah.
So, but it's like you're doing the same thing. It's like I can't believe you're sitting on playing on that game. I'm like, you're playing on your phone. Where's the difference?
I'm looking
here?
at TikToks. It's different.
Right. I'm like,
I'm engaging in a culture.
engaging in a culture.
I'm observing the zeitgeist pass. I'm basically the watcher. That's what I'm doing. I'm just watching the multiverse. We don't know who these people are. This is 1,000 different possibilities at the touch of our fingertips. Like, it's infinite. That's what TikTok is. Not your little Zelda clone there. What are you doing? Are you playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? I'm witnessing the passage of time. So again, TikTok is the future.
Historian. The chronicler.
That was good.
But it's frustrating because I think that's part of it. Just accept and realize that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like
if you enjoy it and you're not hurting anybody, it doesn't matter.
That literally is the catchphrase of this podcast. If you like it, if you're not hurting anybody and you're not hurting yourself to do it, man, go for it. Yep. Enjoy yourself. Nerd out about it. Do you know how many people that traveling in the circles that I traveled in? You know, again, I boxed, I played football in high school and for a while in college. I was a bouncer. Like, I did everything a big, beefy dude should do. I worked on a mine for a little bit. You know how many of those dudes that I got into D&D board games, like talking about that stuff, that just had never done that before.
Just never even considered
it. Yeah. And, we had my cousin and her boyfriend who were just the most country, like cornbread people that ever lived. Her boyfriend was especially. But they would come over and play Call of Cthulhu with us. Because I told her, I was like, hey, come try it out. See if you like it. And they got into it, man. They were like, oh, I would have never tried this. This is nerdy stuff. This is awesome. I can roll these dice. I can pretend to be so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Man, people's propensity to drop the what's the word I'm looking at? Their propensity to drop their guard once there's someone near them that they feel they can let that go with. Like if it's the whole thing of it's hard to ostracize the others when the others are someone I love.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like people's propensity to join into that just increases exponentially. I've found to get in and enjoy things and just really just take part in all the really fun stuff that's out there.
I mean, to that extent too, on the opposite end, like whenever I got the opportunity to do some carpentry sort of stuff, I love it.
Oh yeah,
I was like I'm sick. I just like to do stuff. So it's like check out this stuff with cars. Like as I learn stuff about cars, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I don't care about cars, but it's like when I start learning, I'm like, oh, it's neat. So I'm inclined to check it out more than when
That's like me with Dad. He always showed me stuff with vehicles growing up, and we raced go-karts for like 5-6 years. And it was a blast. Loved just sitting out and racing.
I'm the same with you, Lee. I love learning new things.
Yep.
I love getting to know new things about that.
Yep.
And just learning deeper into it, learning the mechanics of stuff, things like that. I love that. So I don't know.
You think that that personality trait, does that come from did the nerd tree breed that, where we were raised on these video games and these books and this and we use video games a lot, but man, I know we all read when we were kids. You didn't read? Can you read?
I read a lot. I still read. But
I know I read anything I could get my hands on, man, that I could go through. I was just an absolute voracious reader.
Yeah.
You didn't read?
Not a lot. ADHD doesn't really let you do a lot of reading. I tend to read short things and then I'm off to something else.
But even then, like cartoons, stuff like that, where you get into that. Yeah. So just that tendency to explore fantasy. And I don't mean fantasy as in like dude with a sword and shield fighting a dragon. I mean fantasy as in
fiction.
Something, just fiction, something different than reality.
Yeah.
That you could go to. Do you think that led to that propensity for that? The just again limitless exploration that fantasy offers, that fiction offers, and even nonfiction to an extent, because you're still learning, right? Just that offers can lead to that kind of voracious appetite for discovery that is associated with nerddom.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? That enthusiastic ability to learn. Like,
I mean,
this is cool.
very
I
well
want to
could
figure
be.
this out.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
back to the idea of apathy. It's like if Nerdom has kind of beat the apathy out of society, and it says, "Hey, it's cool to like whatever you like. Just go for it. You know, be enthusiastic about whatever you're doing." Then maybe it has. You know?
I mean, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. It's like what? Apathy is not cool. Apathy's not
Yeah.
cool. Like at no point do I go, I love this guy. He doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
Those people suck.
So we're at an hour and 10. I think we have a whole lot to say about this, and I know I could sit here and go for a lot longer. But to just kind of pull through it, I want to say one thing when we talk about that fantasy stuff, and I want to see what you guys think. What drew me to it, and what still draws me to it, and this may get a little more heavy than I probably need to get, but it can be a bad thing. And it's kind of the dark side of nerdom, or like the darker side of the stuff we do, is the escapism. Is that it can be this beautiful escape from the harsh realities of the real world, right? Like when I buy a video game and I go in, I can take my Pokemon to the Pokemon Center. If my dog died tomorrow, I can't take him anywhere. The only thing I can do is put him down. If
Infinite
you know,
lives,
if
baby.
I have if I have something horrible happen to me, I can reset and try again. I don't get a retry. Like sometimes bad stuff just happens and you got to move on and you got to go through it. And there's that escapism and that fantasy to it that is, I think appealing. If I'm going to be real with myself, and now that's not the only reason, right? I do it because it's cool and it's fun and it's neat to play pretend, but it's the control. You know, if I go to try something, if I go to pick this lock and I roll a 1, maybe I have something that lets me reroll. Maybe we try again. Maybe a monster comes out and then we beat that monster up. But if I go and make an attempt in real life at something, that's scary. Because if I roll a nat 1 trying something in life, I may not get another chance. Right? So that control in our media, our consumption of things, and even like books, you know, not just games, but books. Like you're consuming a book. Oh, we got to the scary part. I'm just gonna close it. I've known tons of people say, "Well, I'm not gonna read that because I'm pretty sure that character dies or something, and I don't want that to happen." You know, that kind of control you have over the situation there, and I think that can lead to a bad road where you hear the horror stories of, you know, young couple let their child die because they spent so much time on Ark or something. And so at some point you have to have that kind of reality. But I mean, what do you guys think about that? I'm sorry.
I had this exact discussion with someone before in the past, and they were like, they didn't understand why I liked video games and these games so much. And that was something that I explained to them, was like, these are things I can't do in real life. Like the example I used at the time was like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like I can't go out there and do these crazy tricks. I can barely stand on a skateboard.
I bet you could if you tried it. You got a low center of gravity. You can
not anymore.
More so now.
But you know, this is things I can't do in real life, and I can try. I can risk my life to try. You know, climbing mountains and adventuring, going out. But this is something like escapist, like you said. I can do this. I can be this pro skater. I can be this warrior. I can be this, you know, things I'm not in real life. And it's, you know, it's a great imagination tool. It's fantastic escapist, and it's something I enjoy.
It was always a kind of a catharsis for me when I was having, you know, troubles. If I was going through things, I just turn on my video game or open my book or whatever and just kind of veg out for a moment and just get pulled into that. But again, like there's a bad side to that, and we would be disingenuous if we didn't mention it, right? If we were just sitting here saying Nerddom's great, everything's wonderful, everything's fantastic, there's nothing wrong with fully indulging yourself in your hobbies. There's got to be some kind of limit.
Well, I mean, even
Don't let it be an addiction, because that isn't.
I mean, over in Japan, they have they call it otakus, and it's people who just sit in their room and buy, you know, the latest anime or video game, and that's what they do. And they don't socialize, they don't do anything else, and that's all they do. And that's, I mean, there's a negative light to it for sure.
Yeah.
And
it's unhealthy.
It's, I think, in everything in life, it's bad to have too much of anything.
Moderation.
Extremist.
Moderation is key.
Moderation is key.
Well, you guys would have watched my latest video on YouTube. I talked about this. I gotta block myself.
What was your latest damn video on YouTube?
I was talking about Princess Peach being sexist. Super Princess Peach.
Okay.
Well, it's not really. I argue that it's not, but the point
It's good to hear a white man's view on sexism.
Right. I was like,
you don't get enough of that. You don't get enough white men views.
Let me tell you something about women.
Let me tell you something about the plot of women. I had to explain Barbie to Elizabeth.
So you just mentioned moderation. That's what I was pointing out was, you know, some people think you can't have these sort of things. You can't have these indulgences, but it's about moderation, not militant castration. Just being like, no, you can't have that sort of stuff. No, it's about moderation.
Yeah.
And with that sort of thing, that goes for everything. It's not just Nerdom. It's not just like Lord of the Rings. It's not video games. It's everything. Like I watch every day when I work. When I'm in school's in session, just sit on their phone the entire time. It's like scroll on stuff, and it's like they're literally doing the same thing that we're doing, indulging in somebody else's life, indulging in somebody else's stuff and content, rather than doing their own.
Yeah, so, doom scrolling, right? That's what doom scrolling is. That's what Elizabeth says she sits and does when she gets home. Yep. She goes, I'm going to go doom scroll for about 2 hours, and if anybody dies, let me know.
Man, doom scroll sounds hardcore.
Right.
So, to some extent, anything you're experiencing like that is like that. Watching a movie is to some extent. But I think part of it is play is important. We know that for children. Yeah, that's how we learn. Mm-hmm. Play is important. It gives us an opportunity to try out situations that we would not have always had. Like, hey, how do I deal with relationships? You know what? We're on the playground. We're going to play mommy and daddy. We're going to play doctor and patient, whatever the case may be.
I think that's something.
Okay, go back.
I think that's something that also takes part of why it's always negative light is because going back back in time, it was marketed toward children. Mm-hmm. That's because that was their biggest. Because that's what they related it to. Kids play. Here's the video games for kids. But I mean, as we grew up, we still enjoyed these items, and there's nothing wrong with us enjoying it. But it's still marketed toward kids.
Right.
There's a lot of those games that aren't for kids.
Most definitely.
I say this. I had all these like Dungeons and Dragons X-Wing dragons on my desk at work, and the guy that worked across me at the job I had before this had kind of intermediary, and then I got this. Had a office full of like DC action figures and stuff. Huge. It's awesome, dude. But I get questions every now. Like people would come into my office just to look at my dragons. And be like, "Why do you have those?" I like them. Or when I was at the hospital before, I'd bring my computer every now and then. I'd bring my Switch to play. Especially when I lived at the hospital for 6 months during COVID. I literally slept in a breastfeeding room for almost 6 months. Because I need to be on staff for my work. But I brought my Switch and stuff, and every now and then I get questions. But the big one is, like, oh, that's for kids, or that's this stuff, or that, don't you like this? And I get that still every now and then. That kind of, turn up your nose, like, oh, that's for, and usually it's from like an older crowd, or a younger, more ignorant crowd every now and then, like just hitting just into those early 20s, and they think like, oh, now it's time to cast away my baby stuff because I'm an adult. Life hasn't broke you yet. You're gonna come back to it. But my answer to them 100% is for the last over a decade, I have worked in a sorrow-filled, death-filled, sick, rotting line of work. I worked through a pandemic. I consoled people in their darkest times. I watched people who were unable to be in the same room as their loved one and had to stand behind glass and watch them die. And their only course was me in that room with an intercom. I've put people in bags. I've pulled lines out of people. I've done some gross, I've watched a lot of rot and sadness. And damn it, my toys are great. for that, and it helps level. And I like my toys. I love my family, my pets, and my toys are the big thing that drew me out of that stuff. Yeah. Because it is that kind of escape. It lets you kind of snap back into that happy place. Because if you spiral and you focus on the darkness, like it will take you.
Yeah, well,
like absolutely.
I like you get those, the women that decorate. They put the flowers up, or they'll put gnomes. I've seen gnomes and stuff. But you put something up like a dragon, and they're like, "Oh, what a little toy you have there."
I was at my office mate in that little job. She did have gnomes everywhere.
Yeah.
And I bought her a gnome before I left. She loved my dragon. She was cool about it.
Yeah.
And again, like it's very, very few and far between. Like super few and far between. I think it's a lot more. But I just want to make that
But
point.
it's the same thing.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
The same.
It's
gnome nerd.
It's just something we enjoy.
Yeah.
And just because they don't, they're like, ooh, little kids' toys. Ooh, how quaint.
I have a shadow box of Castlevania Symphony of the Night hanging up on the wall in my cube, and I have a little Shy Guy and a pixelated Link sitting on my desk. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Well, I think part of that too. That's a pretty extreme, Josh. That's some stuff.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be heavy. Listen, I work. If nobody's gleaned, I work in healthcare. Okay?
Right.
I was an infection preventionist for a long time. I worked in healthcare through COVID. Also, I worked in a big hospital. Ran that hospital stuff. So it was a lot.
Well, to go with that, I mean, not to make that graphic extreme, but I feel like we all do. We all deal with the wrong.
Yeah, I didn't mean.
I don't work in healthcare.
It doesn't matter.
I mean to Bogart. I didn't mean to say like mine was worse than anybody's. By no
I understand.
means.
It is. Like you work. We work in like office settings. You work at schools.
We have no option but to work in a world that is twisted.
Yeah.
And we have twisted. And it's like when we can play in a world that is intended to be perfect, at least for our purposes of play.
Yeah.
It's escaping.
You have control.
Exactly.
You have control over what you do in that.
Yep.
world.
And if I play a game, I don't make any mistakes, I'll be fine. If
sorry.
I do everything right in this life, I don't make any mistakes, I can still get screwed.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. I mean, I'm sorry I don't come home and just do taxes.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't?
If you're a nerd about your taxes, that's cool too, man.
Yeah.
We got a little heavy here, and I apologize. That was me. A weird mental space. But no, my whole argument to it is like, hey, I worked in a heavy industry, and my little whimsy stuff helps me with that. It's catharsis.
Yep.
That's the whole goal. But so moving, there's one other thing that you had mentioned, Lee, in the I think it was you in the group chat when we were planning this. Yeah.
Oh,
so we're talking about Nerdom, and I think we're gonna finish on this. We can get like 10 or 15 minutes out of this, and we'll be done because we're nearing our hour and a half mark. We really don't ever want to go over that. We're talking about gatekeeping in nerd culture, and so does anybody want to tell us what gatekeeping means?
I don't think you have the right to talk about gatekeeping.
I'd really like to talk about
Name 20 gatekeepers right now, or you can't talk about it.
There's one in Fire Emblem, and everybody loves him.
Heimdall, Chiron.
Got me.
I got two.
No. Gatekeepers, people that feel that they have to be entitled enough, and they have to feel special. And you're not allowed to be as special as them.
You're not allowed to like it unless you already know a set amount about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you like something? You learn about it. So gatekeeping is like, you're not allowed to like this.
And they are the measure that they are the pinnacle that you have to measure up to before you can be a fandom part of. That's gatekeeping, and that's the gatekeepers.
You call yourself a Zelda fan.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. I
Name the strongest Zelda.
My favorite is the Zooey Deschanel from Brooklyn Nine-Nine when she's in the car and he's like, she's like, name 3 laws. That meme. And there was one the other day and it was like, I'm a Zelda fan. And she's like, oh yeah, name 12 characters. He was like, Link. All right, I set the bar too low.
They did that for Smash. She's like, name like 8 Smash characters. He's like, Marth.
Yeah. That's on me.
Yeah, that's on me.
So I mean, I'm sure everybody has either seen an example of this or been affected by this. Someone who you're looking to get into a fandom, or you're looking to do so. The quintessential example is the girl wearing a band shirt and some dude comes up to her and is like, oh, that's your favorite band, name 3 songs.
Yeah.
Those are gatekeepers. They hold the gate to a fandom closed because you have to meet a certain threshold of expertise before you can get in and actually call yourself a fan of something.
Metallica fan, a lot of Metallica fans recently, apparently that's been a big thing.
Has it been?
Yeah.
A lot of them it was about the Stranger Things, and they was like, sorry, you're getting so many people coming over from Stranger Things, and Metallica actually made a statement after it. It was like, why are you sorry? Like, it's more people learning about our stuff and listening. If they like it, cool.
That's the nerd. That's again. That ties all back into that us versus them mentality, and that kind of that this is our adult cool thing, Metallica, and then you got the babies watching Stranger Things, and that's for kids and all like. Man, fuck you.
Absolutely.
The only reason you should...
I'm sorry, that's my one. That's my one F-bomb.
The only reason you should stand at the gate is to meet the new people and have fun learning with them.
Yeah. There's a guy I watched, Retro Bird. You guys heard of that guy on YouTube? He has a hat he puts on that says, "Get on my lawn." He's like, "Hey, kids, you like Super Nintendo games? Come on in."
That sounds like there's some police on the way.
I don't know if we need to push him.
Hey kids, I got popsicles down in the basement. You want to learn about Nintendo?
But it's definitely that sort of thing. And I think at some point, I know I have unwittingly at some point been a gatekeeper of something, I'm sure. Even if it's just like, oh, you say you really like horror movies, but you've never seen this film? It's like, come on, dude. Like,
I think there's a difference between like being excited, like the enthusiasm to share.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's... And the I'm sorry, Lee, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's your intention. I think you're right. That's a good way to turn it. It's like, what's your intention? Are you trying to drive somebody away? Or are you trying to welcome in? You know?
You ever been in a conversation with someone where you say something like, "Oh, I broke my ankle," or "My aunt fell and broke her leg," and then they say, "Oh yeah, my father, shot himself in the hand yesterday," or something like that. Yeah. And I think a lot of times it feels like
I'm so bad for that.
Yeah, it feels like, well, that person's just trying to one up my misery, but in reality, it's co-misery. They're sharing with you an example of something that happened to them.
Well, there's 2 different ones, because you do have that one type.
Oh, there are.
Immediately wants to try to top you. It's like, oh yeah, well I've got this, but there's some people that.
Well,
that's how they. You
got it easy.
That's how they connect and communicate. Is, well, that happened to you. Here's something similar that happened to me.
I never thought about this.
But
I never thought about this until I watched Scrubs.
Oh, really?
And Scrubs, they made it to the point one episode, and they were like, "JD, you're a story topper," and he was like, "No, I'm not. I'm a story topper." And he was like, "No, I'm not," and he made up something else to be like better than them.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I know I do this a lot. When someone says something, I'm like, "Oh yeah, well here's something I'll relate to," and I'm always afraid that somebody's going to think that I'm just being like, "Oh yeah, well my experience is this."
I say, does that make sense? A lot. And I saw a little meme the other day, and it said, so when I say, does that make sense, I don't say it because I think you don't understand. I say it because I think I'm incoherent. And that 100% is because I will ramble. I will ramble at a stranger.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I'll go, does that make sense?
That's my job.
Yeah.
Brittany laughs at me because I don't have much to say about most things, but when we get into like video game topics, and I'm like, "Oh boy, get ready, here we go."
We've got some strong opinions. Tell you about the strong opinions I have about Donkey Kong's recolor.
Let me tell you the entire anthology of Dragon Age as we go.
So Gatekeeper, what are thoughts on Gatekeeper? We talked about.
It's awful.
They should be kneecapped.
It's dumb. I mean, the only gatekeeping
they should be kneecapped.
Only gatekeeping should be from gatekeepers. I mean,
like hound dog.
Is that being tolerant of intolerance argument? Because if you ever see, I know everybody's seen it online. Everybody's seen this argument where it's someone's being a douchebag. You call that person a douchebag. They're like, "Oh, look at you calling for people to be nice, calling people douchebags." Like, no, you can't be tolerant of intolerance.
Yeah.
Like you gotta call a dick. Like if you're being a butthead, stop being a butthead.
I just want to point out, Josh has said 3 curse words.
I have. I'm sorry.
We got handed down to 1, and he said 4. I've missed 1.
Anybody playing the bingo, home bingo?
Yeah.
I did drop an F-bomb this
Wait,
episode.
sir, that's not a bad idea. We can sell merch, just bingo cards.
Josh bingo
It's
cards.
just always sitting around me with an expletive thing. Just F.
That's the free space.
I'm going to be mentioning that by hurting my hand.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, I got to
You hurt
do it
your
now
hand
because
and
I hit it with a hammer.
Lee's got the Monopoly guy hat on.
Not a monocle.
What's Aaron? You are just unimpressive in all ways.
The average man, average Joe blends in the background. That's me.
Or about how I'm going to go home and just sit in my corner again.
Actually,
That was enough.
it's probably.
I want to make one more point about gatekeeping before we move on.
Oh.
We'll wrap up. This is how new people coming into our fandoms is how our fandoms grow and thrive. Yeah, get on Lee's lawn, kids. Please
His
get on
address
Lee's
is.
lawn. You're a school teacher, and it worries me that you said that so many times.
Well, get on my lawn.
Kids.
I actually tell students to come get water off the porch, and he really does. So I'm like, quite literally, get on my lawn.
Come to my basement.
He's like, I got some pops.
Here's some popsicles in the basement. Oh Lord. Anyway,
I got a bottle of water on the porch for you.
but if you've ever been that person to think, oh, this person's not a real fan, or this person's not, or they're doing this for attention, like the gamer girl stuff. You know what I mean? Like when they're like, oh, the gamer girl with it. And yes, some people are probably going to do that. Some will do it because they think it's a niche they can get into, but it goes both ways. It's not just the thing. But either way, drawing attention to a fandom is a good thing. There's rarely a time when this is a bad thing, unless it's for a bad thing that happened.
It's rarely a bad thing, except for when it is.
And you usually know when it's a bad thing, right?
Usually easy to tell.
But just someone being new and being inquisitive and showing up on like a Reddit or a Facebook group and saying, hey, I'm new. What can you help me with? Or look at this new thing I made. You know, I've seen for Marvel Champions, an LCG we play, best LCG of all time. Check it. I've seen on very rarely, but at least on one occasion, a new player posts a new deck and they just get eviscerated. Man, like laugh reacts and people talking crap about the cards they're putting in there, and like that's not helping that person.
No.
Makes me think of I had a friend who used to all the time, like we played D&D, and I would be like, oh, here's my character, you know, I made this. And he's like, well, why'd you use this? Why don't you use this stack? Because it's a blah blah blah. You know, this feat is better to. And I'm like because I want to have fun.
I'm making a character. I'm not making a number machine.
Fun.
So you said what?
I'm making a character. I'm not making a number machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a number machine, that's fine.
If that's what you find fun,
Don't be a butthole about somebody else not wanting to. And if you want your campaign, and we talked about this, go back to episode 2. If you want your campaign, if you're playing tabletop, that's why it's so important to have a session 0 and set expectations to what people are building. If I sit down, I'm like, oh, I expected everybody to power game, and I built this absolute like perfect character, and then Aaron comes in with his
Savage Rage.
just stuff all over the place, stat points just for RP purposes, something funny, strength is his dump stat barbarian. Like it's
Savage Rage has a gun but doesn't have any.
just something that he's going to have fun playing at the table. And I thought, oh, hey, we're going to power game. Like that's 2 separate expectations that we needed to set with each other before. There's a social contract to this stuff. Sorry, I'm off my soapbox.
different.
Wow, I'll get up on it.
Yeah,
I think it's dumb. People try to gatekeep.
it is. Gatekeeping is dumb, man.
It's just, again, it's one of those negative lights in the nerd communities.
Yep.
That, I mean,
and that goes in with the image of the nerd, right? The who's not seen the neckbeard with the fedora of the actually guy. Like that is the evil nerd image now.
yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything to add as we end on the evil nerd image?
Blood pressure's up. I think we're
a little aggravated, a little hot, a little flustered coming in.
Welcome people into your nerddom.
Yeah, I accept all, except those guys, and they know who they are.
Again, if you're into it, it don't hurt people, and you don't hurt yourself. Enjoy it.
That's it.
Like
There's 2 things I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. So there's a joke from
We
Austin
love our
Powers.
We love our Dutch friends.
Absolutely.
Thank you, our Dutch listeners. A good hinga dinga darkin to you.
All zero.
And they're gone.
I think this was a good conversation. I know we're just over our hour and a half mark. I think it's time to wrap up. I want to thank everyone who's listened to us. We have 2 episodes live as of recording this, and our third one's going up in a few days. We're just under 200 total listens, which is tremendously more than I thought we were ever going to have.
200 times what I thought we
Well, I thought we had 4, but Lee did just tell me he didn't listen to the second episode, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's you're on the damn mountain. Listen to the episode. At least give us a listen. Like, just put it on mute and hit play. Dear God. 5. Oh, I'm up to 5. My bad.
You think that's how the conversation went with Mount Rushmore as well? You're on a mountain, man.
You're on a mountain. Do something. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that I know this comes with every podcast, but it's one of those. A rate really does help.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Rate, leave us
rate, share,
like,
leave us.
comments.
We've got an email. Send
Like, comment, subscribe.
our
send
email.
suggestions. Any kind of.
Q&A would be so fun.
That's
Yeah.
You got any questions for us? If there's any episodes you'd like us to do, you'd like to sit around and talk about something that's important to you, go for it. We are in the process as of recording this. Now again, this is going to go out in November. It will be November when this goes out, and it is July 24th when we're recording it. But if you have any questions, like Lee said, Q&A would be a blast. If you want advice for a game you're looking to get, if you want to suggest topics, anything like that, heelshavenerds@gmail.com is our email address. Leave us a like, hit the subscribe button, leave us a review on whatever podcasting app lets you leave a review. I know Spotify you can't leave a review on. You just gotta hit the stars.
Yeah, it's something small, but it actually does help.
And share with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I gotta call out Critical Encounters is a podcast for Marvel Champions I listen to a lot, and they have a great line at the end. I'm not gonna steal it, but I'm gonna steal it for this one. If you like us, tell your friends. If you don't like us, tell your enemies. And it's just an absolutely brilliant line. And if they ever listen to this podcast, Mike, Steve, and Daniel, you guys are incredible, and you should have me on to talk about Marvel Champions. But other than that, Lee, people can find you at Pixel Bro Lee on YouTube.
Please.
Go check out, please, dear God, go look at his videos, because he's going to mention them until you do.
Yep.
Cody, Aaron, anywhere people can find you?
Probably in the school locker here in the next little bit.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't say
No.
I never said that at the beginning. Oh, by the way, we came to you from being shoved inside a school locker. Trying to
It's
figure
too
out
late. It's too late. It's ruined.
It's
You
disingenuous now.
You ruined the thing.
I'm nowhere. I'm here. I'm nowhere online. Just here. That's it.
I'm up on the hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for listening, and let your freak flags fly.
Stay nerdy.
That's it. Turn it off. Turn it off.